Hello, welcome to another episode of Marketing Matters. I'm Erin Sanchez from candidlyerin.com.
And I'm Yolanda of Wise Social Marketing.
And we are usually here every Thursday at 11 a.m., but we're all in holiday prep mode and we will not be back for a couple of weeks. So we'll be back in January. So this is the last video before the holiday rush. But we thought we'd talk about some of our goals given the season going into 2020. So, sorry. So I didn't know if it froze or not. What's that?
Where to start? Yeah, like where to start with our goals.
Yeah. So I think like you were saying, I mean, I think both of ours have a social media focus. Yeah. So I don't know if I can just jump in with like some of my like numbers goals, which is to be more consistent on social media and really focus on facilitating engagement. So for me, that looks like posting every day. So like at least 5 times a week on my social channels, spending 30 minutes engaging with others' posts. And we'll talk more about that aspect later, but I don't want to hog the conversation. And then doing at least 1 to 2 short videos for my social channels every single week, because I think video is just so awesome and such a great way to facilitate engagement, but I've just been slacking. So those are my high level social goals.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are wanting to do exactly what you mentioned. They're more video this coming year.
Yeah.
I know a lot of my clients and people I've spoken to all wanting to do more video in 2020, and it is the way to go.
Absolutely.
For me, I'm going to be focusing. What was that? I'm going to be focusing more on Pinterest because I have not been that good with my pinning. I am there. I always create a pin for my blog posts, but I do want to become a better pinner. And by that, I mean, I want to follow more of the rules or the top advice, which is to create at least 10 images per post, which is, I know, quite alarming, but it works. I mean, the top pinners, you know, that's what they say, what they recommend. I actually even read one saying 30 images per post.
Oh my.
Yeah. And
I didn't hear that number.
She has 2.1 million views every month. So who knows? But anyway, I won't have time for all this because Pinterest is extremely time consuming. And so if you are going to try and, you know, level up on the viewership, like if you are, I think I get something like 14,000 views at the moment, which isn't too bad. But if your goal is to get up to 1 million views, you're going to be pinning a lot. You have to pin every day. And I think the strategies there, like 30 minutes a day minimum on Pinterest?
I'd say minimum. Yeah. And I am not like a Pinterest pro. I have spent quite a bit of time on there. I have a Tailwind account. But I have always, and this is like a nice little trick for people, is I have hired a VA to do that. And because you can find people who cost more, but you can also find some people who are super new or who go through agencies, right, that you can work with. And it's really, I think, a good use of outsourcing because Pinterest is something that takes a lot of time, but it's also not something that takes a lot of high level. I don't want to insult anybody because there are some great Pinterest strategists out there, but it isn't something that maybe your skills are best, your time is best used for, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why I'm saying I personally do not have the time to spend like 30 minutes a day on Pinterest, but I do want to just level up on my Pinterest game this coming year for many reasons. One, I keep saying this, we all know that Instagram is heading the same way as Facebook. We're gonna end up paying for the privilege to like show up in people's feeds on Instagram. So Pinterest is the way to go. And also Pinterest is a search engine. It's not a social media platform.
Right.
So if you actually optimize your description, so if you create your pin, you optimize it with keywords, you're going to get found. Because also people, it's not about followers on Pinterest. It's not about the number of followers. No one types into the search on Pinterest. No one types under search, blog posts by Candidly Erin. No one does that. People
No.
go to pin to be inspired. I mean, they go through the pins and they're just looking for inspiration. They're not looking for a particular brand. So it really is about just producing the greatest pins, right? The best pins.
Like what is the content that I find useful? What is the headline? So I'm going through, so like I was saying to you before our video, I'm happy to share what I am doing with you, and I'll probably create maybe like a little video screen share for like the basics for people, because I've had people ask me before, because when I was even just doing it myself and trying to do it in a very time-saving way, which wasn't optimizing. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can be on group boards, you can be in Tailwind tribes. There's so many things that you can do. And I know they're like delete pins that don't have, I wasn't even doing a lot of that because I didn't have the time, but I was just pinning my content. And then there's like a feature in Tailwind where when your queue starts getting low, you can go repin all of those. And people were like, how are you? Because I was up to almost 600,000 views a month.
Wow, that's fantastic.
But that was also because I had some very inspirational quote type of pins that I had created go viral basically on there. And it's like, well, you know, that drove some traffic, but also it's not like a headline that's somebody wants to read that blog post, right? So lesson learned, I got a lot of views, but it wasn't all like just people like rushing to my site, right? But even so right now I get 50,000-ish a month, which is not 2.1 million, but it's a decent amount. Yeah.
And I think you've said to me before, Erin, that Pinterest drives a lot of traffic to your website.
It does. Now, luckily, SEO has overtaken. I'm glad about that because, you know, I don't really want to be reliant on like a platform, right? But it does. It's almost always like in second place for what drives traffic.
Yeah, not for me, which is why I'm focusing on 2020 Pinterest, because Pinterest does not drive a lot of traffic to either one of my websites.
Yeah, interesting.
Which I think is, it's just sad. I want that to change.
Yeah.
I want that to change because, most of my traffic comes from SEO. I just have these blog posts that do really, really well. Google just drives people to my website, which is fantastic news.
Yeah.
But I do think Pinterest should also be showing up.
Yeah. Well, because it can almost match SEO, so then you've doubled your traffic, right?
Exactly. So that is my the main add to my strategy for 2020, because I'm going to continue doing more of what I've been doing in 2019, which has been working for me, which is more face-to-face meetings.
Yes.
As you and I have said many times, I love coffee meetups. I know a lot of entrepreneurs who, boo-boo the whole thing. Oh, I don't have time for coffee meetups. People are just wasting my time. It's not true. There's a lot of value in meeting people and connecting with people face to face. There's nothing more important, in my opinion. Even if it's just a Zoom call, but please just meet up with people. If people are reaching out to you and they want to get to know you, please say yes. Say yes more than no. Because you never know, right, where that will lead. They might not work your way, but
I agree. And I so admire that you do that. And like I was saying before, in some areas like Seattle, it makes it very difficult to go run around because we've got traffic and long distances and all of that. But when I do make an effort to connect with people, either over coffee or on a Zoom call, what I find is, and we were talking about this before, when you're on social media, it's this idea that you're trying to reach this mass audience and you want to get your message out to all these people. But before you really build relationships to get people to care about who you are, what you have to say, it's very hard to do that when you're just speaking to everyone. But making those individual connections, it deepens the relationship, and those people recommend you personally to someone else, and they recommend you, and those recommendations are more memorable. They have a bigger significance on the person who's receiving the message. They feel like they know you better. So I feel like online success in a huge part is created with offline relationships.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. And even the big people, Jasmine Star. Now, of course, a lot of people follow her, millions probably across her channels. I don't remember her numbers, but tons. But the people who are her raving fans, who are commenting on all her stuff, many of them go and they have attended a session where she spoke at Social Media Marketing World, at whatever, you know, Kajabi, I don't know where she's been. That's why they feel like they have a personal, they took a selfie with her after her talk or whatever. So those people are still using the offline.
Yeah, I've gone on a lot about this in 2019, the importance of just building relationships offline. It's like, it's made the world of difference to my work, and just, it's also helped me show up more online. It kind of builds your confidence, I think, that once you know you have some support, people who actually do value what you're saying and appreciate you, even if it's just one or two people, that were strangers but now have connected with you, it just kind of builds up your confidence. It gives you this confidence to show up online as well. It also, it's almost like a practice thing. If you feel like you're an awkward, which I do, I've always felt a little quirky and awkward. You know, I was always a little bit different in high school.
Welcome to the club, me too.
If you feel like perhaps the way you communicate isn't as good as it could be, for example, going to these coffee meetups, meeting up with people face to face is good practice, because then you can apply whatever you've learned about how you're coming across online too.
Yeah. And I think it's the same. I think it was in our last video when we were talking about being a multi-passionate, and I said I had met up with a young woman who was kind of going through those struggles, right? And we had wine and appetizers and everything. And I thought, you know, there's such value in people go, like you said, there's a lot of people who go, oh, and I've said this before too, because there's a line you have to draw, but like, you know, no, I don't let people pick my brain, right? And it's like, well, I can't let everyone pick my brain because I really wouldn't have time to do my paid work, right? But when you are, and I'm not saying like to chase only things where you feel like it's going to be reciprocated, right? But have an open mind and say, like, what can I learn from this person? I want to make another connection? Like, when those opportunities arise and your time allows, do them, because the value that you gain from it can be so many different things. Like for me, it was like doing customer research with her. And I think I mentioned this to you.
Yeah, so true.
That was not my intention. I wasn't there to be like, now how could I sell to her? But I learned so much about her that I was like, oh, this is validating all these things that like my course does or my blog post. And it gave me all these ideas. So, I mean, there's always, like, you don't look at it just as, what are they trying to get from me? You know?
And I think there's always going to be this element of picking your brain.
Of course.
I mean, if you're really wanting to get to know someone, and if you want to actually show that you know what you say you know, like you have to be able to prove that you are. Like, for example, if someone says, you know, you're a social media marketer, what does that mean? And then they say, well, what would you do in my case? Be open to sharing something, like be generous with your knowledge. Because if you don't share something, I mean, and for all of us who go to these high-level meetings, you know, if we've been to big business meetings where you're trying to get the work, there is quite a lot of picking the brain, because they want to see how you're standing out or standing apart from the competitors, right?
And what you can do for them.
Because there's a lot of advice out there that you shouldn't share too much, but I agree, not too much, but you do have to show that you do know your stuff. So there is definitely always an element of your brain is going to be picked.
No, that's a very good point.
On the table, it's going to be picked.
Yes, no, totally. And I don't mind sharing openly. I think it's just a matter of, I'm sorry, I can't get on back-to-back calls to give people free advice type of thing. But when the intention is to build a relationship and have a connection, like, be open, be generous.
You're just going to have to be generous. But yes, definitely none of those, I need an hour of your time and you must like strategize for me for free. That definitely not.
No, definitely not.
No, definitely not.
So, and we always do this, we get on rabbit trails, but it was such a good one. This is such an important topic, I think, because people need to do this. But so that's what your focus really was for 2019. That's, I'm assuming, going to continue into 2020. And then Pinterest. And for me, talked about my social media goals, and then being similar to you, like I want to build, like now going into 2020, I'm really focusing on engagement, which means a lot more of those one-on-one connections. And we don't have to wait till 2020 to start doing our 2020 goals. That's what people need to remember. Like I've already started doing that. I've been connecting with people. Even when people just come on my podcast, we always get to know each other first, and it's like, boom, a new one-on-one connection, right? And so one of my big areas of focus is engagement, because I want to feel like I'm not just showing up and blasting, information to the masses, but that people I know, are listening, they care, they're spreading the word, and not because they feel obligated to, but because they want to. So
you want to know that what you're sharing is landing, right? It's valuable, that people are finding value in what you're doing and sharing. Important. I think engagement though in 2019 has been interesting. There's definitely been a dip, across the board. Everyone has found huge dip, big drop in engagement on every platform. I have yet to come across anyone saying that they, unless you're of course a top influencer, but I'm saying people who are just starting out, who are reasonably new, have all found it to be quite a struggle this year.
Yeah. And that's why the story I was sharing with you was so important to me, because I was really struggling with that for a good portion of this year, where it's like, is my message landing? Am I talking about the right things? Does anybody care? Like, is there anybody out there, And it's like, you see that people are opening your newsletters. You see that people are visiting your blog, but it's very quiet, right? So then I've really been thinking about that lately, just like waking up in the morning and going, why am I doing this? Like, why am I dragging myself to the computer to write a blog post? And yesterday, and like I always do, I won't mention the person's name, but I received a very nice email from someone who I've never engaged with in any way, like, on social media. I couldn't even put a face to her name, but she's on my email list. And she sent me a message saying how grateful she was for the content I was sharing. It was exactly what she was looking for, and shared her story with me, which I always appreciate, because people are like, they feel comfortable enough with you to like share about themselves and their own struggles and everything. So that was a big sort of like aha moment, and sort of a motivational boost that I needed to be like, keep going. So I just want to remind people, like, when things are quiet for a really long time and you think nobody's listening, a lot of the time it's because, do you reply to every single newsletter or blog post that you read that you find inspirational? No. There are a lot of people out there, they're just staying quiet. So I think it's a huge reminder that I have to remind myself all the time.
Yeah, and I think in this last video for 2019, I think one of the, if I can just impart some wisdom,
please
just be patient and be persistent. Just keep doing the work. We all have those days. We're all going to have those down days, and we're all going to wonder. I mean, this happens time and again. We're all going to wonder if we're doing great work, if people are actually listening, if they're caring, if they're paying attention. But people are. But like you say, they don't constantly give you feedback. And really, it's a matter of time. Like, they don't have the time to, like you say, reply to every newsletter or every post. But it doesn't mean, though, that your work isn't valuable.
That's very true. Yeah, and I love that reminder, and I hope people do take it to heart, because I will say this: before I started my business, I was this huge procrastinator, as I've said many, many times, and everybody probably knows it by now. But what I did was I devoured people's blog posts. I devoured their newsletters. I was trying to figure out everything I could about what they had to teach. Very rarely did I ever comment or reply to any of those people. Their content was mega valuable to me. It is literally what enabled me to build the foundation of the business that I did. And I wasn't giving them feedback. And now I'm like, I should have, because I know what it feels like to be on the other side. But I also did buy products and stuff from them. So,
Well, when you buy the product, you're already showing, you're like reciprocating, you're already showing that you found them valuable. But you don't have to send them a message.
No.
And I think it's also the reason a lot of the people that we learn from are the top people, right? The people who have millions of followers. And I think the reason that we don't respond to some of those people is we think we're going to get lost in their mailbox, like, or they even see our email. But if there are people that you're following who are not quite up there with millions
Jasmine
of followers,
star level,
appreciate their work, here's an idea. Let them know that you appreciate their work. Because there again, you are building community, you're building relationships by letting them know. And you never know where that relationship will lead.
Exactly. I mean, look, I pretty much almost weekly respond to your newsletters, even if it's just a short thing. Even if it's just a short thing, it's like, oh,
and I appreciate it. I love hearing from my subscribers. I love
it. No, wonderful advice. We want to hear what. Did you have anything else to share? I don't want to jump ahead.
No, that's it. Yeah, a wonderful 2020 for everyone.
Yes, and please share your 2020 goals if you feel comfortable doing that in the comments. As always, we'll pop the link to our freebie, 15 proven ways to grow your email list. So if your goal in 2020 is to start and grow an email list, that's packed with information. So yeah, like I said, this video is going up a little late with all the holiday prep. We won't be back until somewhere around January 8th. I haven't looked at the calendar, but somewhere around there. And yeah, we wish everyone happy holidays.
Bye. Thank you for watching.
Yes. Bye.